announcement is that you guys are tweaking the algorithm. You're changing up news feed. Explain what that'll look like.
So the idea is to try and focus more on bringing people together by trying to put more emphasis on facilitating more meaningful social interactions between people. And the way we do that in ranking is to value things like commenting or writing a long comment more, and valuing things like how long we think you might watch a video for less. And so as a result, the ecosystem will shift.
Here on this campus, the tweak of an algorithm could impact over 2 billion people. That's a lot of power.
It's a lot of responsibility, and it's something that we try to keep very top of mind anytime we make any change to ranking or the design, either big or small.
It's about meaningful interactions, but if you read between the lines, will it deprioritize big publisher content?
So what it'll do is, I think, shift publisher content from content that people consume passively to content that people actually have conversations about with their
sharing with their friends and family.
Though overall, because there's more content on Facebook from publishers that people just consume passively than actually talk about, it will mean less publisher distribution overall.
What we've learned from our research is that it's not as much about how much time you're spending on Facebook or any other thing. It's about how you're spending that time. So one way I think about this, I think a kind of a useful analogy is like going to a party. So if you go to a party and you sit in the corner and you don't really talk to anybody and you don't interact with anybody, it's likely that that's not going to be a particularly enjoyable or meaningful experience. And if you do that night after night, that's not going to make you feel great. Whereas if you go to a party and you talk to people and you interact and you meet new people and you get closer to people, you're going to more likely walk out of that feeling better, and that's going to be a good experience.
What am I up against? Because this is my dystopian view. I sometimes think that every product decision is coded for me to be scrolling. You know, every design decision is coded by an engineer or showing me a certain color, a certain notification that triggers something in my brain that says click on it. Yeah. So do I have control?
So here's what I'd say. I think at my time at Facebook, what I've seen and the products we build, they have been at the core from the very beginning about bringing people together.
The change today is interesting because it's about building more meaningful relationships, but it's also about seeing more of something from your friends and family, which is also in your circle. So as you as a researcher, do you worry that we're going to continue building a larger filter bubble?
Well, obviously, this is something we take pretty seriously and think a lot about. What's interesting is that the research shows is that actually, because you have ties in your family and your friends who may not have the same political views as you, who may not have the same thoughts as you, is that you tend to get exposed to a lot of different things that you might not otherwise.
Are you guys willing to sacrifice revenue for well-being of Facebook users?
I don't think they have to be in conflict. I think that if we create an experience that's bad for people's well-being, that's going to inevitably be bad for our business over the long run.
Could that lead to less daily active users?
I think, anything is always possible. In this case, we haven't seen that people come to Facebook less often. We do see that people spend a little bit less time on Facebook. But we think that if we are creating an experience that people are finding meaningful, that over the long run, they're going to use the experience of the platform more, and that'll be good both for people and for the business.
The larger issue is linked to the ad-driven model, right? This idea that attention gets rewarded and not quality of information. I know that's something you guys are thinking about, hence some of the changes that you guys are making today. Can you make meaningful changes without shifting the advertising model that's so core to Facebook and its shareholders?
I believe so, because I believe there's lots of different reasons why people pay attention to anything. Media is no exception. You might be attracted to a story because it's sensational or because it's divisive in some way, but it might be just genuinely engaging and interesting and meaningful in other ways. So we try to focus on identifying those types of attention, that type of meaning, and nurturing that as best we can. Things like connecting with friends and family, but also things like informative content. And then for things like sensational content or clickbait or false news, we try to, as best we can, identify it and then remove it from our platform. If you were just going to try and increase as much attention as possible, it would be easier to be agnostic, but I don't think that would be responsible given our place in the world.
You guys have fallen into some uncomfortable editorial questions in the last year, whether it's the weaponization of the platform or just hate speech and all of these real philosophical, ethical questions that come with becoming a worldwide platform. So is this trying to take a step away from, those uncomfortable editorial questions?
I don't think there's any future in which we are not having difficult conversations about sticky issues. And so I don't think this
increasingly so, right?
Yeah, and that's because a lot of people use our platform every single day, and it's an important part of the way people communicate and consume information. And so I think along with that comes a lot of attention and scrutiny, and this ranking change isn't going to change that.